All right. We live, beautiful people. Happy Thursday. Look, y'all. I'm so sorry. It's like the second time in 3 years I have overslept. Mm. Shayla, hey girl, hey Levine, blessings. Trina, hey girl, hey. Let me tell y'all something. We was out here at this water park all day yesterday. Out here, Water Country, USA. My little grandbaby birthday yesterday. So we went out to Williamsburg, had a little birthday party for him. Then after the cake and ice cream and stuff, we all went to Water Country, USA. They left a little bit early because Mama had to go to work. We decided to stay till the park closed. Oh my gosh, I did not think. And I know I be tired sometimes when we come from the pool, we stay out there all day. Water Country, USA, yo, I did not think it would make me oversleep. Yo, everybody in the house still asleep. Ain't nobody moved. Boy, and they wanted to get in the lazy river all day. That's the river that you get in, and that just, if you've never been out there, you don't know what I'm talking about. It just kind of, it moves you along with its own current and stuff, you know. So being out there in that and keeping my eye on Bella, and she don't want to float down the river with me. She want to float by herself. Dream, shalom. And it's like I'm trying to move against the current. She get out there before me. It's like, and all the little small kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, y'all, it's giving me a headache. So, but it was fun nonetheless. But it took a lot of energy out of me. I mean, not a bad thing, and it was good. I wasn't tired while I was there, but boy, if you need a good night's sleep, go to Water Country USA, get on the ride, and get in the lazy river like 79 times. Oh my gosh, they ain't want to get out that thing. But anywho, that's why I'm late, y'all. Shalom. Like I said, it's like my second time in 3 years oversleeping. Now, I have been late a couple times, but that was because of business things we had to do. But actually oversleeping, y'all, I don't oversleep. All right, y'all. So now y'all know why I'm extremely late today. I'm so sorry. It is Thursday. Happy Thursday, y'all. August 26, 2021, day 243 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of 3 consecutive day count, day 912. We are finishing, well, we're not finishing the book of Daniel. We're still reading the book of Daniel. We're reading chapters 8, 9, and 10. We'll actually finish it tomorrow because it's 12 chapters. Sleep is a beautiful thing, right? Yeah, girl, Trina. Whew, boy, it does. It does. Like I said, I didn't. It does. Water really helps you sleep really well. Let me tell you what woke me up. I was having a dream. It's crazy. The dream, I ain't like it mean anything, whatever. But I was having a dream about these kids, and they were playing, and they were dressed up into these like little costumes. And they was like marching down the hall in costumes and stuff. I was like, oh, these kids are cute, you know. But they had all snuck out the house. And so I'm like, okay, where your parents at? They don't know y'all out here. And they had all snuck out the house in their little costumes, and they was kind of marching in line going to play baseball and stuff, right? And then there was a mom who, she needed to rent a car, but she didn't speak English, so she had an interpreter. It was a black girl. She was her interpreter, and she was calling the rental car place and letting them know that the lady needed to rent a car, and was giving her all the details. She said that's fine. She said, as a down payment, I got 2 coins, and for some reason I was eavesdropping on a phone call, but it wasn't like I was eavesdropping. I could just automatically hear the phone call. Like I said, it makes no kind of sense to me. But she said, I got 2 coins. She said, oh, yes, thank you for that. And she said, and we'll pay the rest, when we return the car. And it was like it was okay, like the 2 coins suffice. And I'm thinking to myself, these must be 2 gold coins or something like that. But when I thought that, and here's what woke me up. But when I thought they must be 2 gold coins or something. Anybody ever take you ever collect quarters or change in a jar, and then you go to like the change machine and pour it in so it can count it up, and they give you like the receipt to take to the register so it can give you actual dollar currency. Okay, it was like one of them. I didn't see it, but as I was thinking, they must be 2 gold coins or something. I actually heard a coin machine ringing in my ear, like somebody was taking a huge jar, you know, them 5-gallon water jugs that you put in the water machine on top of it so you can get water. It was like I saw and I heard one of them pouring down the coin machine, and the quarters was going in, counting it, and it just kept going and going and going. I'm like, man, they got a lot of coins. I'm standing to listen to this coin machine for a few minutes in my dream. I'm like, man, I wonder how many coins they got. And then I jolted myself awake like, oh my gosh. That's what woke me up. The coin machines jingling in my ear from this dream. I'm like, oh shoot, thank you, coins. And I hopped up and I heard them put the message on Facebook. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, we'll be live at 7:35 a.m. So yeah, y'all. When I posted that message for y'all that saw it on Facebook, I was literally just cracking my eyes open. So I had to run in there, do my little quick together and stuff, and wash my face, brush my teeth and everything. I literally jumped down the stairs. So yeah. Mom, shalom, shalom. Talay, hey girl, hey. Okay, y'all. So let's do the show. I done wasted enough time already. Okay, the Shema is found in Deuteronomy Chapter 6. Where my Shema go? Oh, goodness. Why did it take so long to come up? I don't know. Thought maybe one of my kids deleted my note by mistake, because I keep my little stuff in here so I can go right to it. Okay. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the mighty one of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your mighty one, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I commanded you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. All right, y'all, let's hop right on over here to Daniel. Light. Thank you, Tiffany. Okay, there we go. Light just blocking my face. All right, thank you. Daniel chapter 8. Daniel's vision of a ram and a goat. I, Daniel, saw another vision following the one that had already appeared to me. In this vision, I was at the fortress of Susa in the province of Elam, standing by the Ulai River. As I looked up, I saw a ram with 2 long horns standing beside the river. One of the horns was longer than the other, even though it had grown later than the other one. The ram butted everything out of its way, to the west, to the north, and to the south, and no one could stand against him or help his victims. He did as he pleased and became very great. While I was watching, suddenly a male goat appeared from the west, crossing the land so swiftly that he didn't even touch the ground. This goat, which had one very large horn between his eyes, headed toward the two-horned ram that I had seen standing beside the river, rushing at him in a rage. The goat charged furiously at the ram and struck him, breaking off both his horns. Now the ram was helpless, and the goat knocked him down and trampled him. No one could rescue the ram from the goat's power. The goat became very powerful, but at the height of his power, his large horn was broken off. In the large horn's place grew four prominent horns, pointing in the four directions of the earth. Then from one of the prominent horns came a small horn whose power grew very great. It extended toward the south and the east and toward the glorious land of Israel. Its power reached to the heavens, where it attacked the heavenly army, throwing some of the heavenly beings and some of the stars to the ground and trampling them. It even challenged the commander of heaven's armies by canceling the daily sacrifices offered to him by destroying the temple and by destroying his temple. The army of heaven was restrained from responding to this rebellion, so the daily sacrifice was halted and truth was overthrown. The horn succeeded in everything it did. Then I heard the two holy ones talking to each other. One of them asked, "How long will the events of this vision last? How long will the rebellion that causes desecration stop the daily sacrifices? How long will the temple and heaven's army be trampled on?" The other replied, "It will take 2,300 evenings and mornings, and then the temple will be made right again." Okay, Gabriel explains the vision. As I, Daniel, was trying to understand the meaning of this vision, someone who looked like a man stood in front of me, and I heard a human voice calling out from the Ulai River, "Gabriel, tell this man the meaning of his vision." As Gabriel approached the place where I was standing, I became so terrified that I fell with my face to the ground. "Son of man," he said, "you must understand that the events you have seen in your vision relate to the time of the end." While he was speaking, I fainted and lay there with my face to the ground, but Gabriel roused me with a touch and helped me to my feet. Then he said, "I am here to tell you what will happen later in the time of wrath. What you have seen pertains to the very end of time. The two-horned ram represents the kings of Media and Persia. The shaggy male goat represents the king of Greece, and the large horn between his eyes represents the first king of the Greek Empire. The four prominent horns that replace the four prominent horns that replace the one large horn show that the Greek Empire will break into four kingdoms, but none as great as the first. At the end of their rule, when their sin is in its height, a fierce king, a master of intrigue, will rise to power. He will become very strong, but not by his own power. He will cause a shocking amount of destruction and succeed in everything he does. He will destroy powerful leaders and devastate the holy people. He will be a master of deception and will become arrogant. He will destroy many without warning. He will even take on the prince of princes in battle, but he will be broken, though not by human power. This vision about the 2,300 evenings and mornings is true, but none of these things will happen for a long time, so keep this vision a secret." Then I, Daniel, was overcome and lay sick for several days. Afterward, I got up and performed my duties for the king, but I was greatly troubled by the vision and could not understand it. Daniel chapter 9. Daniel's prayer for his people. It was the first year of the reign of Darius the Mede, the son of Ahasuerus, who became king of the Babylonians. During the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, learned from reading the word of Yahuwah as revealed to Jeremiah the prophet that Jerusalem must lie desolate for 70 years. So I turned to Yahuwah and pleaded with him in prayer and fasting. I also wore rough burlap and sprinkled myself with ashes. I prayed to Yahuwah, my God, and confessed, O Yah, you are a great and awesome God. You always fulfill your covenant and keep your promises of unfailing love to those who love you and obey your commands. But we have sinned and done wrong. We have rebelled against you and scorned your commands and regulations. We have refused to listen to your servants, the prophets, who spoke on your authority to our kings and princes and ancestors and to all the people of the land. Yahuwah, you are in the right, but as you see, our faces are covered with shame. This is true of all of us, including the people of Judah and Jerusalem and all Israel, scattered near and far, wherever you have driven us because of our disloyalty to you. O Yahuwah, we and our kings, princes, and ancestors are covered with shame because we have sinned against you. But Yahuwah, our God, is merciful and forgiving, even though we have rebelled against him. We have not obeyed you, Yahuwah, our God, for we have not followed the instructions he gave us through his servants, the people. All Israel has disobeyed your instruction and turned away, refusing to listen to your voice. So now the solemn curses and judgments written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yahuwah, have been poured down on us because of our sin. You have kept your word and done to us and our rulers exactly as you warned. Never has there been such a disaster as happened in Jerusalem. Every curse written against us in the law of Moses has come true. Yet we have refused to seek mercy from Yahuwah our God by turning from our sins and recognizing his truth. Therefore, Yahuwah has brought upon us the disaster he prepared. Yahuwah, our God, was right to do all of these things, for we did not obey him. O Yah, our God, you brought lasting honor to your name by rescuing your people from Egypt in a great display of power. But we have sinned and are full of wickedness. In view of all your faithful mercies, Yah, please turn your furious anger away from your city, Jerusalem, your holy mountain. All the neighboring nations mock Jerusalem and your people because of our sins and the sins of our ancestors. O Yahuwah, hear your servant's prayer. Listen as I plead. For your own sake, Yah, smile again on your desolate sanctuary. O Yah, lean down and listen to me. Open your eyes and see our despair. See how your city, the city that bears your name, lies in ruins. We make this plea, not because we deserve help, but because of your mercy. O Yahuwah, hear. O Yahuwah, forgive. O Yahuwah, listen and act for your own sake. Do not delay, my God, for your people and your city bear your name. Gabriel's message about the Anointed One. I went on praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people, pleading with Yahuwah, my God, for Jerusalem, his holy mountain. As I was praying, Gabriel, whom I had seen in the earlier vision, came swiftly to me at the time of the evening sacrifice. He explained to me, Daniel, I have come here to give you insight and understanding. The moment you began praying, a command was given, and now I am here to tell you what it is, for you are very precious to Yahuwah. Listen carefully so you can understand the meaning of your vision. A period of 70 sets of 7 has been decreed for your people and your holy city to finish their rebellion, to put an end to their sin, to atone for their guilt, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to confirm the prophetic vision, and to anoint the most holy place. Now listen and understand. 7 sets of 7 plus 62 sets of 7 will pass from the time the command is given to build Jerusalem until a ruler, the Anointed One, comes. Jerusalem will be rebuilt with streets and strong defenses despite the perilous times. After this period of 62 sets of 7, the Anointed One will be killed, appearing to have accomplished nothing, and a ruler will arise whose armies will destroy the city and the temple. The end will come with a flood, and war and its miseries are decreed from that time until the very end. The ruler will make a treaty with the people for a period of 1 set of 7. But after half this time, he will put an end to the sacrifices and offerings. And as a climax to all his terrible deeds, he will set up a sacrilegious object that causes desecration until the fate decreed for this defiler is finally poured out on him. And so this right here, if you read this, and if you read in the book of Maccabees, you will realize that this was during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, right? When they destroyed the temple. And from that time, all manner of perilous times will go on until the end of this ruling period, or to the end of time, right? Or it's the end of this rule for the Roman Empire, right? And so we're after the desecration of all that, which caused everyone to flee, those who were left, right? He set up the object that causes he set up the object of abomination that causes desolation, which causes desolation. We talked about it before. As a matter of fact, I think that was the title of that video. The abomination that causes desolation, or that caused Jerusalem to be desolate, right? And he told the people, he said, when you see this, flee to the mountains, run, get out of here, go scatter yourselves, those who are left, right? Because it's going to be nothing but turmoil and devastation until the very end of his reign. And that's the point where we're at. We're in the point of the very end of the last ruling days of the Roman Empire, y'all. So people teach that like this is still coming up. I'm like, y'all missing some information. Y'all should go check out a few things, right? And that's how the church teaches it. I'm like, this is wrong. How are you leaving out all this other stuff that's been a part of history, right? Okay, so all right, y'all. Daniel chapter 10. Daniel's vision of a messenger. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Cyrus of Persia, Daniel, also known as Belteshazzar, had another vision. He understood that the vision concerned the events certain to happen in the future, times of war and great hardship. When this vision came to me, I, Daniel, had been in mourning for 3 whole weeks. All that time I had eaten no rich food, no meat or wine crossed my lips, and I used no fragrant lotions until those 3 weeks had passed. On April 23rd, as I was standing on the bank of the great Tigris River, I looked up and I saw a man dressed in linen clothing with a belt of pure gold around his waist. His body looked like a precious gem. His face flashed like lightning, and his eyes flamed like torches. His arms and feet shone like polished bronze, and his voice roared like a vast multitude of people. Only I, Daniel, saw this vision. The men with me saw nothing, but they were suddenly terrified and ran away to hide. So I was left there all alone to see this amazing vision. My strength left me, my face grew deathly pale, and I felt very weak. Then I heard the man speak, and when I heard the sound of his voice, I fainted and lay there with my face to the ground. Just then a hand touched me and lifted me up, still trembling to my Just then a hand touched me and lifted me, still trembling, to my hands and knees. And the man said to me, Daniel, you are very precious to Yahuwah, so listen carefully to what I have to say to you. Stand up, for I have been sent to you. When he said this to me, I stood up, still trembling. Then he said, don't be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day you began to pray for understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your request has been heard in heaven. I have come to answer your prayer. But for 21 days, the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia blocked my way. Then Michael, one of the archangels, came to help me, and I left him there with the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia. Now I am here to explain what will happen to your people in the future, for this vision concerns a time yet to come. While he was speaking to me, I looked down at the ground, unable to say a word. Then the one who looked like a man touched my lips, and I opened my mouth and began to speak. I said to the one standing in front of me, I am filled with anguish because of the vision I have seen, my Lord, and I am very weak. Daniel saw the destruction of his people and the last scattering where we're scattered today. He's seen a lot of this stuff that happened to us, right? And that's why he was like, impossible. This cannot happen to you, who is holy people. What will we do in the times to come that's going to cause this complete, utter devastation to us, right? And that's what caused Daniel literally almost to take his last breath, right? How can some... Hold on. Let me go back. I'm going to just go back to 15. While he was speaking to me, I looked down at the ground, unable to say a word. Then the one who looked like a man touched my lips, and I opened my mouth and began to speak. I said to the one standing in front of me, I am filled with anguish because of the vision I have seen, my Lord, and I am very weak. How can someone like me, your servant, talk to you, my Lord? My strength is gone, and I can hardly breathe. Then the one who looked like a man touched me again, and I felt my strength returning. Don't be afraid, he said, for you are very precious to you, Lord. Peace, be encouraged, be strong. As he spoke these words to me, I suddenly felt stronger and said to him, please speak to me, my Lord, for you have strengthened me. He replied, do you know why I have come? Soon I must return to fight against the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia, and after that spirit prince of the kingdom of Greece will come. Meanwhile, I will tell you what is written in the book of truth. No one helps me against these spirit princes except Michael, your spirit prince. And this is where it cuts off today, y'all. Oh my gosh. Maybe because I'm so late, we gotta get out of here anyway. Maybe we should just read the last 2 chapters of Daniel. Maybe I shouldn't break them up. Let's just do that. Let's just read the last 2 chapters of Daniel. Daniel chapter 11. I just love the book of Daniel. I would literally sit and listen to the book of Daniel multiple times over and over in one day. I have been standing beside Michael to support and strengthen him since the first year of the reign of Darius the Mede, kings of the south and north. Now then, I will reveal the truth to you. 3 more Persian kings will reign, to be succeeded by a 4th, far richer than the others. He will use his wealth to stir up everyone to fight against the kingdom of Greece. Then a mighty king will rise to power, who will rule with great authority and accomplish everything he sets out to do. But at the height of his power, his kingdom will be broken apart and divided into 4 parts. It will not be ruled by the king's descendants, nor will the kingdom hold the authority it once had, for his empire will be uprooted and given to others. The king of the south will increase in power, but one of his own officials will become more powerful than he and will rule his kingdom with great strength. Some years later, an alliance will be formed between the king of the north and the king of the south. The daughter of the south will be given in marriage to the king of the north to secure the alliance, but she will lose her influence over him, and so will her father. She will be abandoned along with her supporters, but when one of her relatives becomes the king of the south, he will raise an army and enter the fortress of the king of the north and defeat him. When he returns to Egypt, he will carry back their idols with him, along with the priceless articles of gold and silver. For some years afterwards, he will leave the king of the north alone. Later, the king of the north will invade the realm of the king of the south, but will soon return to his own land. However, the sons of the king of the north will assemble a mighty army that will advance like a flood and carry the battle as far as the enemy's fortress. Then, in a rage, the king of the south will rally against the vast forces assembled by the king of the north and will defeat them. After the enemy army is swept away, the king of the south will be filled with pride and will execute many thousands of his enemies, but his success will be short-lived. A few years later, the king of the north will return with a fully equipped army far greater than before. At that time, there will be a general uprising against the king of the south. Violent men among your own people will join in fulfillment of this vision, but they will not succeed. Then the king of the north will come and lay siege to a fortified city and capture it. The best troops of the south will not be able to stand in the face of the onslaught. The king of the north will march onward unopposed. None will be able to stop him. He will pause in the glorious land of Israel, intent on destroying it. He will make plans to come with the might of his entire kingdom and will form an alliance with the king of the south. He will give him a daughter in marriage in order to overthrow the kingdom from within, but his plan will fail. After this, he will turn his attention to the coastland and conquer many cities. But a commander from another land will put an end to his insolence and cause him to retreat in shame. He will take refuge in his own fortresses, but will stumble and fall and be seen no more. His successor will send out a tax collector to maintain the royal splendor. But after a very brief reign, he will die, though not from anger or in battle. The next to come to power will be a despicable man who is not in line for royal succession. He will slip in when least expected and take over the kingdom by flattery and intrigue. Before him, great armies will be swept away, including a covenant prince. With deceitful promises, he will make various alliances. He will become strong despite having only a handful of followers. Without warning, he will enter the richest areas of the land. Then he will distribute among his followers the plunder and wealth of the rich, something his predecessors had never done. He will plot to overthrow the strongholds, but this will last for only a short while. Then he will stir up his courage and raise a great army against the king of the south. The king of the south will go to battle with a mighty army, but to no avail, for there will be plots against him. His own household will cause his downfall. His army will be swept away, and many will be killed. Seeking nothing but each other's harm, these kings will plot against each other at the conference table, attempting to deceive each other. But it will make no difference, for the end will come at the appointed time. The king of the north will then return home with great riches. On the way, he will set himself against the people of the Holy Covenant, doing much damage before continuing his journey. Then, at the appointed time, he will once again invade the south, but this time the result will be different. For warships from western coastlands will scare him off, and he will withdraw and return home. But he will vent his anger against the people of the Holy Covenant and reward those who forsake the covenant. His army will take over the temple fortress, pollute the sanctuary, put a stop to the daily sacrifices, and set up a sacrilegious object that causes desecration. He will flatter and win over those who have violated the covenant, but the people who know their God will be strong and will resist him. Wise leaders will give instruction to many, but these teachers will die by fire and sword, or they will be jailed and robbed. During these persecutions, little help will arrive, and many who join them will not be sincere. And some of the wise will fall victim to persecution. In this way, they will be refined and cleansed and made pure until the time of the end, for the appointed time is still to come. The king will do as he pleases, exalting himself and claiming to be greater than every god, even blaspheming the God of gods. He will succeed, but only until the time of wrath is completed. For what has been determined will surely take place. He will have no respect for the gods of his ancestors, or for the God loved by women, or for any other god, for he will boast that he is greater than them all. Instead of these, he will worship the God of fortresses, a god his ancestors never knew, and lavish on him gold, silver, precious stones, and expensive gifts. Claiming this foreign god's help, he will attack the strongest fortresses. He will honor those who submit to him, appointing them to positions of authority and dividing the land among them as their reward. At the time of the end, the king of the south will attack the king of the north. The king of the north will storm out with chariots, charioteers, and a vast navy. He will invade various lands and sweep through them like a flood. He will enter the glorious land of Israel, and many nations will fall. But Moab, Edom, and the best part of Ammon will escape. He will conquer many countries, and even Egypt will not escape. He will gain control over the gold, silver, and treasures of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians will be his servants. But then news from the east and the north will alarm him, and he will set out in great anger to destroy and obliterate many. He will stop between the glorious holy mountain and the sea and will pitch his royal tents. But while he is there, his time will suddenly run out, and no one will help him. Last chapter for the day, and the last chapter of Daniel chapter 12. And after we read this, we're not going to hop over to fossilized customs. What we're going to read is Maccabees chapter 1, so you can see all of this stuff. For the most part of Daniel's dream has come true already, right? And it's still coming true. We're in, like I said before, we're in a portion of that time where destruction has been decreed until the end, right? We're in this until the end part, right? And the end doesn't mean the end of the world. It means the end of the reign of this fourth beast, right? So Antiochus Epiphanes is a part of this fourth beast system's rule, right? And you just have different kings and rulers that have been successors on down through time in these last few decades, right? Well, actually it's more than decades, but thousands, 2,300, a couple thousand years, right? Okay. The time of the end. At that time, Michael, the archangel who stands guard over your nation, will arise. So the archangel for the nation of Israel is the archangel Michael, right? It's Michael who's going to stand up, right? At that time, Michael, the archangel who stands guard over your nation, will arise. Then there will be a time of anguish greater than any since nations first came into existence. But at that time, every one of your people whose name is written in the book will be rescued. Many of those whose bodies lie dead and buried will rise up, some to everlasting life, and some to shame, and some to everlasting disgrace. Those who are wise will shine as bright as the sky, and those who lead many to righteousness will shine like the stars forever. But you, Daniel, keep this prophecy a secret. Seal up the book until the time of the end, when many will rush here and there, and knowledge will increase. And clearly we know that we're in those days, right? The time where knowledge is increasing. Everybody's rushing here and there. It's the information age. We can pull information at the drop of a dime. We carry everybody carry. If you got a cell phone, you carry information with you at all times, right? People are rushing here and there. Knowledge is increasing, right? Then I, Daniel, looked and saw two others standing on the opposite banks of the river. One of them asked the man dressed in linen, who was now standing above the river, "How long will it be until these shocking events are over?" The man dressed in linen, who was standing over the river, raised both his hands toward heaven and took a solemn oath that by the one who lives forever, saying, "It will go on for a time, times, and half a time. When the shattering of the holy people has finally come to an end, all these things will have happened." I heard what he said, but did not understand what he meant. So I asked, "How will all this finally end, my Lord?" But he said, "Go now, Daniel, for what I have said is kept secret and sealed until the time of the end. Many will be purified, cleansed, and refined by these trials, but the wicked will come in their wickedness, and none of them will understand. Only those who are wise will know what it means. From the time of the daily sacrifices stop, from the time that the daily sacrifices stop, and the sacrilegious object that causes desecration is set up to be worshipped, there will be 1,290 days. And blessed are those who wait and remain until the time of the end of the 1,335 days. I had to finish my... Come on, give me a kiss. Come on! Hold on, y'all.
No, stop. Go ahead, quick. All right, come on, finish.
Okay, baby. Love you too. All right, I got you, babe. I'm sorry. I should have stopped my sentence and kissed him. As for you, go your way unto the end. You will rest, and then at the end of days, you will rise again to receive the inheritance set aside for you. Okay, y'all. This is the end of Daniel. So we'll after Hosea, not after Hosea, tomorrow, what we're going to read, the missing chapters of Daniel, right? So we're going to read the prayer of Azariah, we're going to read Bel and the dragon, and we're going to read Susanna, and then we'll start the book of Hosea, right? Okay. So, and then we'll probably finish Fossilized Customs tomorrow, the last couple pages. But let me read. I know I read this before. The first book of Maccabees. If y'all never read it, y'all should go read it, right? It goes along with Daniel. I said last time we started, well, maybe we should actually read all the way through. Maybe this time we'll add all 4 books of Maccabees. I know it's 4 books. It's not really that thick, but this right here, all of this is the 4 books of Maccabees. So we'll probably add it in. But I want to read the first chapter again today for those that have never read and have never heard it before, right? And this will end our reading for today. Let me see how many minutes we got. Because I know we started late, y'all. Okay, 41. Okay, we'll probably be done before the hour mark. So let me go ahead read this, right? Okay. First book of Maccabees, chapter 1. So remember what we just read, what we heard in Daniel. So be paying attention to a lot of this stuff that is going to start pointing out. Okay. And if you actually have the Suffer Bible, it's on page 1417. Okay. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, and Kittim is Rome, right? Who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians, and Madai, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Javan, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, so much so that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up, and he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over other countries, and nations, and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died. And his servants bore rule, every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of Yavanam. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and cut a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein, that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, meaning they setting up other altars and idols in Jerusalem, the place where Yahuwah sets up his name. And that's what Yahuwah was talking about. He said, they defiled the place where I set my name to be, right? And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant. Remember what Daniel was talking about? How a certain king is going to cut a covenant with people of the covenant, right? And he's pretty much going to cause a divide. There are some who are going to, and if you go back, we literally just read it. There are some that he's going to give gifts to that actually forsake the covenant of Yah. And there are going to be those that are going to stand to the covenant and they're going to keep it. Josiah, shalom. And made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt that he might have the dominion of 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Mitzrayim. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Mitzrayim, which is Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Mitzrayim, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar and the menorah of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table of showbread, and the pouring vessels and vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoken very proudly. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned. The virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector. Remember, it was talking about the chief tax collector, y'all. Remember, in Daniel, we just read about this. We're reading how all this stuff has happened. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Yahud, right, or to the land of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spoke peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. Remember how it says that this particular king, or they tell you it's the Antichrist, but it's not the Antichrist, y'all. If you go back and you will, in Maccabees, you will see who these people are, right? He said he will win them through peace, not like great war, deceiving people, like being tricked into taking the mark of the beast, or you're gonna have your head cut off. No, that's what excuse me, that's what the Left Behind movies show you. That's what Hollywood shows you, right? And they got everything flipped around backwards. And the book of Daniel tells you it's not going to be by force. It's going to be with flattery. And they're going to trick you by peace. Oh, peace, peace, peace and safety. Yes, all is peace. Oh, we really need this, right? They're going to create the scenario like you really need what they're offering when you don't. It's deception all the way around. Listen. And spoke peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he suddenly fell upon the city. That's how a certain nation deceives every nation. They decide to come in and overtake. They deceive. That's their MO. That's their modus operandi, right? They come in. Oh, how friends? We're your friends, and the native peoples of the land teaching you all they stuff. You come in peaceably, but always in the back of your mind, once you learn their ways and stuff, you're going to usurp everything, and you're going to enslave the people. And spoke peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children they took captive and possessed the cattle. Then they built then built they the city of David with a great and strong wall and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, so that they became a sore snare. Worshiping the God of fortresses, right? They reinforcing it, putting the armor and everything there, right? For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and defiled it. So much so that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made a habitation of strangers, and became strange to those who were born in her, and her own children left her. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, and her honor into contempt. It said that those who were born there didn't even recognize this place anymore, right? Remember we talk about how when you go and destroy a place, it's not always destroying like poof, pow, be gone, like Sodom and Gomorrah is destroyed, but you can also cause desolation and destruction to a place by completely changing it, removing everything that we setting up our monuments and our businesses in our city. We're gonna customize this, and we're gonna make it to our liking. It said they did that so much so that Jerusalem's own children didn't recognize the place. And I'll read it again. Listen. Go back up to verse 36. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and defiled it. So much so that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made a habitation of strangers, and became strange to those who were born in her, and her own children left her. Right? They didn't recognize this place anymore. We got to get out of here. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbath into reproach, and her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote this to his whole kingdom, that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his law, so that all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of Israel consented to his religion. Remember what Daniel was talking about, how they fooled the holy people and they began to make covenants with them? Listen. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote this to his whole kingdom, that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. I mean, Yahuwah's people, you leave your laws too. We got laws for you to follow over here, right? Moreover, King Antiochus wrote this to his whole kingdom, that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of Israel consented to his religion, and they sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbaths. For the king had sent Sepharim or scrolls by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and feast days, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. Right? This is what he's specifically, now mind you, the heathen king, they knew what Yahuwah's laws and statutes were, right? They absolutely knew it. That's why they made a covenant, because they knew that if they were going to usurp Israel, they had to get Israel to sin. Israel themselves had to sin against Yahuwah. And by Israel themselves choosing to join alliance and making a pact with this heathen king, they chose to turn away from the Most High, which caused further destruction to our people. Listen. and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and feast days and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. Set up altars and Asherah poles and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. Right? He said, I need y'all to go do the absolute opposite of what your God asked you to do. Eat swine's flesh. Profane the Sabbath days. Like, you're supposed to rest, but no, you go work. Profane the Sabbath. Like, he's telling them, brazen, bold face, do the opposite of what your God said to do. And I'm just like, I be in horror reading some of this stuff. In more horror that some of our people agreed to do these things, right? They chose to sell out rather than to die, right? I mean, I get it. I mean, I don't, but they would have been throwing me into the furnace. If he saved me, he saved me. If he don't, then let it be known unto you, King, that we will not bow to you nor to your idols, right? And pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. Set up altars and Asherah poles and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the Torah and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice, city by city. Yahuwah knew all of this was coming, right? It was no surprise to him. That's why he told him, he said, when you see this stuff happening, those of you who are left, who are still keeping to my Torah, even just a little bit, he said, get out of there. Because if you wait too long, you would not be able to go. They're going to get you. And you're going to have to choose. Either you profane and forget the Torah, or you die, right? In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice, city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the Torah. And so they committed evils in the land, and drove Israel into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for help. Even they were, when they saw this, the ones who didn't flee, when you see them set up the abomination that causes desolation or that causes desecration, get out of here. You should have been gone anyway, right? Look, he said, when you see this, it's probably one of your last chances to run. Flee immediately, right? And those that still didn't go, they were still trying to get out of there, right? Listen. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the Torah. And so they committed evils in the land, and drove Israel into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for help. Now the 15th day of the month of Kislev, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar. And everybody is still talking about it's coming abomination. Listen, y'all missing information. Y'all should go back and read this. It'll tell you right here when they set it up. Remember, Daniel told you about it, and when you get to it and you read it in Matthew, in the tribulation chapter, Matthew chapter 24, it refers you back to Daniel. And if you were familiar with Daniel, you would know to go to Maccabees, right? And it said, it tell you, reader, pay attention. It tell you in Matthew, when it says abomination of desolation, as Daniel talked about, and in parentheses it has, reader, pay attention. What am I paying attention to? Bro, this already happened. Go back to Daniel, then go to Maccabees. And so you can see where it happened at. Reader, pay attention. They be trying to help. Some people be trying to help y'all out with the scriptures. But a lot of people just keep running on with folly. Right? Now, the 15th day of the month of Kislev in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar and built idol altars throughout the cities of Yahud on every side. Yahud is Judah. And the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the scrolls of the Torah, which they found, they burnt them with fire. Oh, Yah, your Torah is burnt. And whosoever was found with any sefer or any scroll of the covenant or any scroll of the Torah, or if any committed to the Torah, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Right? Oh, the Torah is done away with. You don't need that no more. This same foolishness and folly is being repeated even in the church by Yahuwah's own people who are ignorant, right? Because they have been deluded and they have been dumbed down so much that they themselves don't even go back and search the scriptures and find out that that is wrong. They are complete. That look, the Paul tell you in the New Testament, he said, beware them. They teaching you another gospel. But Paul himself, Yah, is deluding you, is teaching you another gospel, keeping you further away from Yah. I know people going to argue with me, but I'll stand toe-to-toe with you all day and tell you Paul is lying to you, right? Which is why y'all in the same predicament y'all been in, and ain't nobody come to help us yet. People. Ooh, my blood boiling. Let me calm down. You're trying to tell people, listen, y'all. Let me just go back and read it. Verse 54 again, y'all. We in first book of Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month of Kislev, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and built idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the scrolls of the Torah which they found, they burnt them with fire. And whosoever was found with any scroll of the covenant, or if any committed to the Torah, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Thus they did by their authority to Israel every month, to as many as were found in the cities. They were hunting us like dogs. Everybody that kept to the Torah, they ain't hunting Christians, people. They hunting those that keep to the laws of Yah. Hunting them like dogs. He said, kill them. Give them a choice. You want these? Now these right here, they were hunting. After they set the abomination of desolation, when you find them, give them a choice. Either you put this away, you put away the Torah, and you start defiling the Sabbath, and you defile the temple, and you worship other idols, or you die. Anybody that's found with a copy of the Torah, any words of the Torah, anybody that's committed to God of heaven, kill them. And whosoever was found with any sefer of the covenant, or if any committed to the Torah, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Thus they did by their authority unto Israel every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the altar, which was upon the altar of Yahuwah. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. Women said, we keep into Yahuwah's Torah, and we're going to circumcise our children. They killed them. And they, and they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Now you got Israel around here eating every part of the pig, from the rooty to the tooty. Wherefore, hold on, let me go back. Verse 62. Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore the rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died, and there was great wrath upon Israel. And that is it for today, y'all. That was the first book of Maccabees, the very first chapter, which brings a lot of clarity. And y'all can keep on reading, but Maccabee, like I said, we might I'm gonna see what we're gonna add it on this time. We're gonna read all the way through it, and we're gonna read through this again. We're gonna read through this chapter again. But it brings a lot of clarity to what Daniel was saying, especially with abomination that causes desolation. We can see that happened already, right? And all these things that the church, they teach you backwards, and they tell you, oh, it's coming. No, my G, this is already past. This is a time where we're in. And when I began to read this, I'm like, well, wait a minute. We're in the timeline of prophecy. Are we really? Right? And that's what made me start looking at you. I was like, wait a minute, this is past. So where are we at really? Right? Because if you're thrown off about the time we're really in, you're going to miss your divine appointment, right? You're going to miss the time when Yah actually shows up, right? But all these people who are truly searching for him and searching for truth, they'll get it. They'll get it, right? We may not have everything perfect, but trust and believe that if we're truly seeking Yahuwah with all our heart, all our soul, with all our might, wanting to know the truth, that he leads us and guides us into all truth. And those things that we don't quite understand, he helps us to understand. Shayla said, I like when you get worked up. Let them know the truth. Girl, ooh, I be... Ooh. All right, y'all, let's get out of here. We already an hour, but we still way over our time today, right? We did an hour, but we way over our time. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the blessing, right? The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. Man or woman can take it. Guys, my kids are still asleep. I told you they ain't even turned over. My husband got up because we got stuff to do. But let me tell you, whew, I take them again. We just got to get out there early. I got to make sure I get enough rest so I can wake up on time. Boy, that water did something. And if you got a real active child, put them in the lazy river and just let them go. Let that current take them. Let them in there play. Let them try and fight against that current of that river. It ain't too strong, and everybody's required to wear the safety vest that keeps you afloat. So, but it was pretty fun. It's nice and relaxing. Just float, do whatever you want to do in the lazy river. But it will tire you out. Plus all the other water rides and stuff that they go get on. It's just let them have at it. So get them a fun pass or a yearly membership. But what's crazy is it's cheaper for my family to get the membership than it is to pay each time because there's so many of us. So whenever we go somewhere, even when we visit museums one time, we just get the membership, even if we only go a couple times a year, because paying for all of us to go one time is a year's membership for all of us. And so we just always go with the year's membership. It's crazy, right? So now we got something where we can go every day if we wanted to, or even if we just go one time, it's paid for itself, right? So I don't know. I don't know. It just works. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, that's it. We got to get out of here. Enjoy your day today, and I'll see y'all on time in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.